Now, default groups are groups that were added to Active Directory when it was installed. And you need to be aware of these groups, and then there's a gotcha that you need to be aware of that could become not really a trick question on the exam, but it's kind of one of those gotchas in real life that they could ask you about. Let's talk about these groups. Now, if you want to make 100 on the exam, memorize these groups and everything they do. If you're like me and you'll take a 98, maybe just look over these and be very familiar with them. Most of the time, they're self-explanatory. The Enterprise Admins groups, I'll go show you these in just a few minutes. These users, this is in the users container of the forest root domain. That's where this thing is placed by default, and it's a member of the administrators group in every domain in the forest. So when you're an enterprise admin, you can do anything anywhere. Schema Admins, this is in the users container of the forest root domain, and if you're a member of Schema Admins, you have full control of the Active Directory schema, and you want to seriously limit that. Administrators are in the built-in container of each domain. You'll see that in the built-in container in Active Directory, and of course administrators can do anything. Domain Admins group is in the users container of each domain. It's a member of the administrators group in its own domain. And then server operators are in a built-in container in each domain, and they can perform maintenance on domain controllers. And by maintenance on domain controllers, we mean such things as they can log on locally, stop and start services, they can perform backup and restore, format disk, create and delete shares, kind of all those general administrative tasks on a domain controller. Account operators, you'll find this one in the built-in container in each domain. Members of this group can create, modify, or delete accounts, and this is user, computer, and group accounts. This is for any accounts that are in any OU in the domain except the domain controller's OU. Next up is the backup operators. This is in the built-in container of each domain, and obviously anybody here can back up and restore domain controllers. And then there's print operators. Same thing, built-in container in each domain, but these guys can maintain print queues on domain controllers. Now, all of these groups are cool, and you need to be aware of them. But let me just go back and tell you, like server operators, account operators, by default, they don't have any people in the group. Backup operators don't have anybody in the group. And there's one gotcha that you need to be aware of here. These are protected groups. And if you add an individual user account into this group, that individual user account becomes a protected user. Now, what does that mean? What it means in plain English is the protection for this group, or it inherits its permissions or its ACLs from not their OU, but they get a different copy of an ACL that's quite restrictive. To the point, for example, if I add Frank Jones into, say, the backup operators group, then my help desk folks can't reset his password because they won't have adequate enough permissions. You have to have a lot more permissions. So be careful about adding users into these. Now, the general rule is if I want to give somebody the ability to back up and restore my domain controller, the best thing to do is simply go out and create a group that could do that, and then assign it the backup files and directories user right, and then add Scott as a member. Just be aware of that little caveat there, that these are protected groups, and if you add individual users in, they become protected, and then you're going to notice some other people can't do some things that they can do to everybody else's groups. So that's your list of default groups. You do need for the exam just to be aware of the group names and what each can do, and just kind of agree with Microsoft about people who are members of those groups and what they can actually accomplish on the network.